I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Hi everybody, Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. Welcome to another podcast. Today we have Glen. Glen's from Western Australia, a good friend of a good friend, and had the privilege of meeting Glen down at the grand final. I went down for the grand final at AFL last month and met Glen and his partner, and asked me to come on this podcast because Glen's got a story to tell, and we all have a good story. Thanks, Glen. Thanks for coming, brother.
No worries, Ronnie. Thanks for having me, mate.
No, good shit. Tell us the Glen story, brother.
Tell us a Glen story. So I grew up in Melbourne. I grew up. I'm from Heidelberg. That's where I was born, but I spent most of my life out in sort of the eastern suburbs around Croydon. Well, I come from a fairly normal sort of family. Do you know what I mean? I grew up just doing the normal things, playing footy, basketball, going to school, that sort of stuff. You know, got into the drugs and stuff when I was probably just a young teenager, maybe sort of 12, 13-ish. But didn't really sort of get on any hard stuff until I sort of got a bit older. You know, I started an electrical apprenticeship when I was about 16, 17. I got through about 3 years of that, and by the end of that, I was fucked. You know, sort of pretty common sort of story. You know, just started using heroin and was in and out of prison, Ronnie, for probably the next 10 years. Petty crime. Could never manage to sort of stay out. You know, low self-esteem, no self-worth. Didn't know right from wrong. Was easily led astray. You know, pretty sort of quiet kid too. You just sort of stuck to myself. And a common thing I always say, and it's really true for me, is I just always tried to behave in a way that I thought the toughest guy in the room would behave, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Whatever I thought he might do or what he might say, that's sort of how I tried to be. It was crazy. Maybe around sort of 2004, I think it was, I ended up in a rehab in Melbourne. Spent 6 months there, got clean, got out, no program, nowhere to go, just felt really lost. Within a couple of months, I had a habit again, and I was back in jail. Um, that was probably the longest sentence I did. I almost did 2 years. But while I was there that time, my sister got clean, and she come and carried the message to me and spoke to me about NA. And it was really weird, actually, because my sister's a few years older than me, and she sat in the visitor room at the Bendigo prison, and I'd never seen her clean before.
Yeah, right.
Not since I was a little kid, you know, and I could tell she was clean.
Yeah.
And and she just spoke to me a little bit about NA, and she'd sort of moved over to Western Australia, and she got into rehab, and she was doing the meetings and doing really well, and she looked healthy. And you know, it's something we hear all the time, but something inside of me wanted what she had. You know, that was really the beginning of the end. Like, I never got clean from that day, but I was chasing it from that day on. You know, I got out. I moved to Western Australia. I was in and out of the meetings. I ended up doing a little bit of jail here during a relapse, but not much. And I got out and I was offered drug court. Yeah, that was the end. And that was really good for me, that drug court thing. Like, I'd always was against the system. I hated the cops. I hated the judges. I hated the prosecutor. And in there, I was treated really fairly. And you know, I was doing the right thing. I was staying clean. I was attending all my meetings. I was giving clean urines. I was turning up to counselling. I was up at the corrections office. I was doing the right thing, and they treated me really fairly because of that. And it was a real eye opener for me. I just thought they all hated us, you know. I was in there for 16 months or so, and I eventually got sentenced and ended up on a suspended sentence, and that was it. You know, haven't dealt with the police or stepped in in a court ever since. The first couple of years of my recovery, maybe the first 5 or 6 years, I got heavily involved initially. Did a lot of service, attended a lot of meetings, second half of meetings, all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't really working a program. I didn't have a lot of spiritual growth, um, and it wasn't really until sort of maybe 3 years ago where I just went, you know what, like I'm just going to do what the people that are staying clean are doing. You know, um, if I was close to using, but I just wasn't well. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, 3 years ago, I just sort of just hooked in with a new sponsor and and just started to do all the things. Work the steps, had a program. I work it today religiously. Um, my sponsor's a great bloke. I attend meetings, help the newcomer, just all that stuff that we do, Ronnie. And
Yeah, 100%.
and the last couple of years have been great. I'm feeling really well. I've got a new partner. 3 years ago, I separated from my wife, and she moved back to Melbourne, and I was a little bit lost again. So that was sort of the catalyst for me, sort of getting back involved and sort of picking up my program and just trying to sort of be the best version of me that I can be. So far so good, doing all the right things and feeling great.
So how long you been clean now?
I've been clean 9.5 years. So April 20 it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. It's really good. And around about that mark, 9 to 10 year mark, you get to a point where you have to either man up or get out, because it does something starts to happen around about the 9, 10 year mark.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to, people don't realise a lot of people relapse around the 10 and the 20 year marks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If you have a look at the history of people that have been around for a long time, around about the 10 year mark, because they think they've got it all together, they're financially secure, they've been in a relationship, they're married, they've bought a house, they're paying a house off, they've either got their own company, they're working in a good company, and all this stuff that we're not used to starts falling in our lap, and we start dropping off the things that gave us the gift. We start,
Yeah.
oh, whammy, I haven't got time to go to a meeting. I'll do it tomorrow. Step work, I've already been through that once, so I don't need to go through that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep forgetting the fundamental. It's a progressive disease.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can
And
be
it
arrested
doesn't
on
go
a daily
away.
basis. It can only be arrested on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely my story. 3 years ago, just going to a meeting was a chore. Just doing anything sort of related to my recovery was a chore. Like I was doing okay, like you said, I had the job and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just became a chore. I'd sit in meetings and I'd sit there for 20 minutes and someone would share and I'd just go, oh, fuck this, I'm going.
Bad sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad sign. I've done it. It's bad sign. It's like, oh fuck, I'm over this. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. I'm thinking about I should be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not present, and I wasn't present in my relationships either.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
home and be with the missus, and I wasn't present there. Then all of a sudden it's like, it's not working. What do you mean it's not working? Of course it's working. I'm getting everything I want. I'm not giving you anything, but I'm getting everything I want.
Yeah.
I remember I had a sponsee come to me. He was about 10 years clean, and he owned a building company. And I was back in jail, and he came to visit me, and he said, "Oh, I want a drink." And I said, "What?" He's 10 years clean. I sponsored him since he came in the rooms. And I said, "Well, how do you work that out?" I said, Are you fucking stupid?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "So you've sat here for 10 years, and you heard him share at every meeting that alcohol is a drug. It's caused great many people to relapse, and you're telling me you want to drink." He said, "I just want to be normal." He said, because he owned a building company, and every Friday he'd buy a slab of beer for all his labourers and his workers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said to him, "Mate, I just want to be a girl." And he laughed, and I laughed back, and he said, "Yeah." I said, "Neither of us are going to achieve what we want." Long story short, he went and relapsed. He started drinking, lost the
Yeah.
wife, lost the kids, lost the business, lost the house. I don't
Lost
even
it
know
all.
where he is today. Just lost everything. Just lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
poor bastard. But it was about. But I've seen this happen. Because I've been around for 41 years around recovery, and I've seen a lot of people around about the 10 year mark go out the door. That's what I say to people. This is the time when you lift the game. This is when it's like the championship rounds of a fight.
Yeah,
Fucking, you got to pick the pace up and you got to fucking go harder.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So, what age did you start going to jail at, Glenn?
I reckon, a couple of tiny little remands sort of in my late teenage years, but my first sentence I was 20, 21, I reckon.
Pantry still open those days, or it closed down?
It had closed down by the time I got my first sentence.
Okay, yeah.
My very first sentence, I ended up at Wanron.
Ron.
Wanron, yeah.
Yeah, is that a camp or something?
Yeah, that was a camp.
Yeah, I remember the name, but mate, yeah, because I'm an old bastard.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah. And I haven't been
yeah,
I haven't been in jail in Victoria since '73.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
It
got
was
out there.
probably open then, I'd say. But,
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
It was. I remember
yeah,
the name.
yeah.
There was Ron, and there was another place. Is it Langy Kelkel? There was Castlemaine, Bendigo.
I did most of my jail up at Bendigo. I did about 5 or 6 sentences up there.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it up there. That was all, like, single cell,
Yeah.
and by the time I sort of hit the system, that was the therapy prison as well, so
Yeah.
you'd sort of get up there and do a couple of drug courses and whatever else, and you could get your parole, so
Okay, so they'd start to realise that the drug addiction had become a massive problem in jails.
yeah. I was there when it closed down, Bendigo. We were kinda like there was about 16 of us left in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When I was there was no drug addicts. When it was frowned upon.
Yeah.
I had my first shot in Victorian institutions.
Yeah,
A
okay. Yep.
place called Malmesbury Youth Training Centre.
Yeah, I know Malmesbury. Yeah.
I started my first injectable drug.
Yeah. That was at Wood End, isn't it? Out
Yeah,
that
mate.
way.
Yeah, that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
near Sunbury where they had the folk festival.
Yeah, okay.
But I
Yep.
was there in 72, 73, 71, 72, 73. I was in Malmesbury. I was in Pentridge in 71. Then they transferred me across because I was so young. I shouldn't have been in Pentridge.
Yep.
And the judge was like, "Fucking, what's he doing in Pentridge?" And the cops are like, "Oh, he's a bad person." He goes, "Yeah, but he's a fucking kid." And the
Yeah.
judge sentenced me to 3 years youth training centre
Yeah,
up in
okay.
Malmesbury. And he took into account the amount of time I'd spent on remand in Pentridge and sent me up to I went to Tirana,
Yep.
Class A.
Class A. Yeah.
Went from Class A to Malmesbury, and that's when my drug addiction started. Isn't it funny?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'd never taken a drug before I went there, and they put me on a drug called Largactil, which was a psych drug.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, they put me
The,
on that, the Largactil shuffle, and they put me on that to
large
control me.
shuffle, yeah.
Yeah, they put me on that to control me, and I'd moved across into a place that was called the Villas. They had like 2 and 3 bedroom little rooms in Marjorie. They just built. It was a brand new building, and I was a good table tennis player. And the second in command there, his name was Jack Shepherd. He liked to play table tennis, and I was a pretty good player. So he took me under his wing, and I started playing competition. He's bringing men in from outside, and I'd play him and that. And he sent me over to this new section and put me 2 out with a bloke. And the fucking bloke said, "Oh, what are the tablets you're taking?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "I don't swallow them. Bring them over and show me." I brought him over and went, "Oh, yeah, they're scrouse when you shoot them up." I can fast forward 50, 60 years, here I am.
Yeah.
That was the end of it. That was the start. Because, mate, I remember putting my arm out, like it's 1972. I remember putting my arm out and turning my head. I remember him injecting me falling me to my knees, spewing in the toilet, and the next day I was back there with my arm out.
Yeah, let's go again.
It was love at first. I called it remission.
Yeah.
While I was stoned, I wasn't in jail.
Yeah.
And it was really frowned upon those days, drug addicts. No, they didn't like drug addicts in prisons, and the criminals
They
didn't want
didn't in
drug
the
addicts.
old days, did they?
And my cousin was a guy called Graham Jensen, the one the
Yep.
coppers killed. The coppers killed him, and then Victor Pearce allegedly went and shot the coppers in Wall Street after it. So Graham and I, we were together at Malmesbury together, and we started using drugs. That's when it was the beginning of the end for us. And I got out of Malmesbury and went straight. I got parole to New South Wales. Part of my, isn't it funny? Part of my parole condition was to leave the state of Victoria.
You're joking.
Yeah, that was part. Like you wouldn't get away with that these days.
No, no, you can't get out.
Yeah, part of my parole conditions was to leave the state of Victoria and not to return. The parole board just said to me, "Get out. We don't want you here. You stay here." Because I got found not guilty of shooting police.
Yep.
They don't like that.
No, no, no.
They don't like that very much at all. So they just said, like I got found not guilty of 5 attempted murders. In an 18-month period, I got charged with 5 attempted murders
Jesus Christ, Ronnie.
from 1970 to 1971. Oh, mate, it was the painters and doctors were all killing each other.
Yeah.
I was part of that. My father was part of that system, and I just inherited that system. And I like to hunt. I like to shoot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just a natural progression.
My grandfather worked on the wharfs
Yeah.
down there. He wasn't a crook, though. He wasn't
Yeah.
a crook,
I
though.
remember you saying that. Well, see, you had the wharfies and you had the painters and dockers.
Yeah, yep,
And, we were part of the painters and dockers. We were just crooks.
yeah.
90% of the time I wasn't even there, but just if the coppers pulled you over and said, "Where were you on the 13th of February?" They'd say, "I was down the rooms." They'd bodge you up the books. They'd go, "No, he was working on site. He couldn't have done that." It was just,
Anyway,
'cause everything was run by the crims, and my old man was pretty connected. He had 2 up games in Paran. So, we had all that stuff. And as we talked about when I met up with you in Melbourne, like some of the guys I grew up with, you were in jail with,
yeah,
They
yeah,
were older men than you, and all their lives had turned to shit too. Most of the old crims had all turned to junkies, had died, had been killed by the coppers or killed by each other.
yeah, yeah. It's
You know?
crazy.
People don't understand how bad Melbourne was. The criminal environment down there, because see, in New South Wales, the coppers were part of the gangs. In Victoria, in my memory, you didn't do deals with coppers. I know Dennis Allen did and all that shit, but before that, coppers weren't, in Sydney it was normal for the crims to do deals with coppers. In Melbourne,
Yeah,
it was fucking frowned upon.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't the done thing, was it?
No, it was frowned upon. You didn't even pay them.
Yeah.
If the jacks would try to take money off, you'd tell them to fuck off, you wouldn't make a record of interview, you wouldn't talk to them, you wouldn't sign nothing. It's like, get fucked. Put me in the cells,
Yeah.
In New South Wales, they just wrote records of interviews and handed them to the judge and said, there, he admitted to everything. I remember when I first came to New South Wales, the coppers approached me and said, "Oh, you're going to do armed robberies for us?" Because I wasn't a junkie at that stage. Even though I'd intravenously used, when I got out of jail, I just drank. I didn't know anything about drug addiction.
Yeah.
And they'd come and grab me over a diamond robbery in Melbourne. They said, "Oh, we want to question you over a diamond robbery." Some bloke would give me up and said he bought a bunch of diamonds off me, and they tracked the diamonds back to an armed robbery of a jewellery store. And they said, "Oh, you've got to give us fucking $2,000 each or something," and we'll say that, And anyway, the painters and doctors arranged for it, and I gave them the fucking $4,000. So the next week, I got another bunch of coppers with their hand out. And I thought, fuck this, I'm not paying these cunts anymore, And then the place that wanted the money, they said, "Okay, if you're not going to pay us, we'll set you up to do some armed robberies for us. We'll tell you when the payrolls are coming, who's got the gun, how much money." And I went, "Fuck that, I'm not doing that shit." Come out me dick in my hand one day from an armed robbery and get shot dead. And you get a medal, and they get the medal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We
Yeah,
were brought up differently. Yeah, we were brought up differently in Victoria.
yeah, it was different. Not that I know how Sydney was, but
Yeah.
and then days I wasn't around for them days either, so
Yeah. But it was
but
a different world, mate. Melbourne was a different place altogether. And then the violence, they shoot you dead on the front stairs of the fucking courthouse.
yeah,
You did Ray Chuck,
yeah,
people laugh when I say that, say, "Mate, when I was in my prime, I'd shoot you dead in front of the judge. If I was that pissed off with you, I'd fucking shoot you in front of the judge. I didn't care."
yeah,
That was
yeah,
the mentality of the Melbourne criminal.
yeah,
You fucking pissed me off. You fucked me over. I'd come down to your workplace and walk into your workplace and shoot you dead in your workplace. It didn't matter where you were, they'd just shoot you. And there was none of
it
this
was a
shoot in the leg and shoot him in the foot.
it was a different world, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. I laugh and I do. I laugh and I think about Chopper. I was in jail with him in 1971. He was just a big dumb fuck, Did you run into him?
I seen him in Collingwood one day, never in prison. That's
Yeah,
before my time. But I seen him down in Collingwood one day, and fuck, he was a big man.
he was a big bastard. He was huge.
He
Well,
was.
he
He was a
was huge.
mountain, you know.
He's
But
the same age. And the funny part is, fast forward to 4 months before he died, my wife and I went to Daydream Island. And there's Chopper. And I went over and said, "Hey, Chopper, we're on issue. There you go, mate." "Fucking hell, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm having a holiday. What are you doing?" He said, "I'm dying." And I said, "We're all dying." He said, "No, I'm serious. I'm fucking dying." And I thought, "Oh, well, it's going to be no loss. There won't be many at the funeral."
No.
Because he was one of the few that did drink with the coppers.
Yeah.
I
He
mean, he
was
was one of
known
the
for
few,
that.
When I seen his movie, I thought the only thing true about this was he was a bully and he never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
talked
Okay.
himself up, mate. God, he talked himself up. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I hadn't seen
Yeah.
him for fucking 45 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I bumped him 4 months before he died
On Daydream Island.
on Daydream Island. He was up there having a holiday and he said to me, "Yeah, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm just fucking, with the missus and that, blah, blah, blah." I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm up here dying." And I said, no, I thought he was joking. I said, "Yeah, we're all going to die." He said, "No, I mean it. I'm fucking dying." Before I started, he was dead, But, mate, honestly, from the years that you went through that system down there, it was a pretty tumultuous fucking time too in the criminal world in Melbourne. The years that you were in the prison system,
Yeah.
some bad up and coming young blokes coming through that system at that stage too.
Yeah. There was. There was. I generally stayed out of all that. I
Yep.
would always sort of try and get sort of classoed to like a medium security somewhere, sort of out of the way.
I try to tell young people today, there's no glory in prison.
Yeah.
Prison told me that I was bad at what I was doing. I mean, if I was in jail, it meant I wasn't successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And today, I like being successful in what I do. I like being successful in recovery. I like being successful in helping people. I like being successful in being a dad. I like being successful in being a friend. That's how I rate my successes today. Not by the bullshit fucking code of ethics that didn't even exist that we thought
Yeah.
did. Like, come on,
I know who you walk in the yard with and
yeah,
all that sort of bullshit, Ronnie.
talking out the side of your mouth, fucking
Yeah.
busting a deal in jail. These days, I got that subby tech and shit
Oh
like
God.
that. Group
Yeah.
more. What do they call it?
Yeah. The Butte. That's what it was when I was. I think it's even changed again these days.
I used to laugh. I'd say they get 3 pills and they think they're Don Corleone. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
They
Getting
get 3
someone to
pills and
spit
they're
it
the
out his
Godfather.
mouth and
Yeah.
oh God, it's fucking horrible, wasn't it?
Mate, it's putrid. I honestly, like I went back to jail when I was 16 years clean, and it was fucking horrific, because I hadn't been to jail for 20 years.
Yeah.
It was like, what the fuck's this about?
Yeah, it would have been a shock to the system, huh?
It was like, what the hell? What, everyone was just on the gear. Blokes are spitting methadone in each other's mouth, then they're shooting it up and fucking getting dirty
Yeah.
shots off the dome. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing, you guys? Someone's pulling the fit out of their ass, and it's
Yeah.
that big, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, don't you know about Hep C? Like, the reality is, mate, I just got old. I just got old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm so grateful I did, because not many of my friends did.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. I lost a few.
Yeah, mate.
I
Did you?
lost a brother. I had a foster brother who sort of was best mates with my younger brother.
Yeah,
And he was having some family problems. So he moved into my house when he was about 11. My parents sort of took him on. And, so he became like my brother,
yeah.
and he ended up getting shot, Ronnie, getting shot dead, sort of 21 years of age, and,
Over the gear.
yeah, he was selling gear. Um, no one's ever been pinched on it. So there's
Yeah,
lots of rumors and innuendo as to what actually happened.
yeah,
And,
sure.
but yeah, selling gear and ended up getting shot in the head and dumped in the bushes, and,
That's the
and that's
reality.
the sad reality of our life that we lived, that could have happened to any one of us,
Yeah. Oh, mate, all of us.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many
The
times you go to get
stabbings.
on to some seedy place and you think, what the fuck am I doing? I got robbed in the mid 70s. by the bikies, and they hit me with a tyre lever, fractured my skull, broke my cheekbone, and broke my jaw. They hit me with this tyre lever, went whack for $500.
Yeah.
Killed me. Then they just put a gun against me because I arced up a little bit. I wasn't too bright. I jumped up and tried to grab a knife, and I was going to stab the guy that just hit me.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they put a gun against my head, and the other guy kept on punching me, and they freaked out, because the guy that set it up must have told him it was going to be a walk in the park, because he turned around and he said to him, "You told me it was going to be a walk in the park. Who is this cunt?" Because I was laughing. My
Yeah.
jaw
Yeah. Yeah.
smashed completely. And I was saying, "You're off. You're off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You think it's finished? It's just beginning. You fucking." I was mad. I was full of that. So I was full of heroin. So I was already mad. And here
Yeah.
I'm just telling him, "You're dead. You're gone. You're fucking dead. It's only a matter of time. I'm going to catch you."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so funny. They panicked, and I just remember his eyes. He's just saying, "Who is this guy? Why isn't he responding like we're supposed to have this bluff and fear that we're standing over him, we're taking his dope off him, and he's laughing and telling me he's going to blow me head off."
You weren't playing the game.
Yeah, because that's where we grew up. That's where we came from. We came from a place where death was normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being beaten, I'd rather you beat me than tell me I was a good bloke. If a girl told me she'd love me, that was more scary than telling me that I was a grub.
Yeah. Yeah.
Telling me you love me was fucking scary.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Asking me to
went
love you in
into
return was twice as scary.
it. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because I do a lot of recovery work now with young fellas and old people as well. But and it's all about our self worth and our concept of what males were and how our information as kids was so distorted.
Yeah.
No, and I think back to my upbringing. My father was a fucking gangster and a horrible cunt, and his father was a Second World War fucking hero. So to be a Second World War hero means you must have killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And his father was probably a First World War hero, which killed a lot of people. So we had all this trauma that's came through the generations to us. Then by the time it hits us, we think it's normal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just been passed down through the genes, isn't it?
Yes,
Like,
mate. Yeah,
yeah.
because I always say 99% of the time that I've found, if you go back in your past, like when you do a fourth step, you find out that there was a major trauma somewhere that started this catalyst of addiction.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is. And some people think it has to be some major issue. It doesn't even have to be that. It could be that you never felt like your dad loved you. Or you didn't have
Yeah.
enough
No,
care.
yeah.
He was at work fucking 60 hours a week working and put food on your table. But to you, he didn't turn up at the footy game, so he never loved you.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I always say to people, like, don't look for this major problem. Let's look for the cycles. Let's see what happened, and then we'll look at the cycles that make your world go round, and then we'll start to see. My dad played up my mum, so then every time I get in a relationship, I start playing up on girls. See, I was brought up that a woman shut the fuck up, put dinner on the table, and if she backhands you, give her a backhander. That's how my father, brought me up with my mum.
Yeah.
Then by
Yeah.
the time I'm in mid-20s, the world's changed, and I'm still giving the girl the backhander, and she's saying, "Fucking, I'm going to have you charged." Like, what? What for? My mum stayed with my dad till the day she died. That's
Yeah.
normal. What's fucking wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, we have to relearn. That's the hardest part with recovery. Unlearning, not learning. The
Yeah.
learning's
Just
the easy
unlearning all
part.
the bullshit that's seeped into our heads over the years.
Yes, mate, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially growing up in jail, because people don't understand. People who've never been to prison think jail's a holiday camp because they say, "Oh, the guys are in there, they're doing the weights, they're doing." It's fucking mentally and emotionally terrifying. No
Yeah.
matter how tough you are.
Yeah.
The only time I felt safe was when the door closed.
Yeah. And I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I can absolutely. I used to love that, especially up at Bendigo because it was one out, and they'd lock that door at night, and I'd
Yep.
just go, "Okay, sweet, made it another day."
And I was always one out because
A relief, you know.
I told the screws, "You put someone in my cell, I'm going to kill them." So it was a duty of care. They couldn't put someone in the cell,
Yeah. Yep.
but I'd already told them, "You put someone in my cell, I'm going to cut their throat. I'm going to knock them during the night. When they're asleep, I'm going to stab them to death. I'm going to kill them." so that they couldn't, by law, put anyone in my cell.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that was because I was terrified.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe whoever they put in the cell might kill me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I mean, and I'd lived this life of doing bad things to other people out in the gangster world. And just because I went to jail, it doesn't mean that the feud stops there. The feud goes into the system with you.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then
And
when
you
I got
don't know. You don't know who's coming for you sometimes.
exactly,
You know.
you don't know.
Yeah.
Graham Jensen sent a message to me when I was in Class A. Oh, there's this bloke that's come down from Mars. He's a dog. And Graham was my cousin. He's not by blood, but he was my cousin. We grew up together.
Yeah.
His brother and my father were best mates. I used to call his brother uncle, so we became cousins and all this bullshit. You
Yeah.
know, as the old days did when it was mates with your dad was uncle and auntie and all that. It was called respect. It was Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, or you never called anybody by their first name. When I was a kid, you got slapped.
Yeah.
So Graham sends me a message, oh, this bloke's a dog. So I go into the mess rooms in Class A. There's got a big TV room there. I walk in. As I walk past him, I go, right, I'm boom, the king hit him. Well, he moves his head. He must have jerried. And I hit the wall, and then we're into it. Him and I, we both punch on. He gets me, cuts me eye. Anyway, we had this fight. And we both locked up in the DU, got a little lock-up section there in the middle of the Class A.
Yeah.
Later on, I found out that the bloke he wasn't a dog. He just him and Graham had a punch up, and he got over Graham. So Graham sent the message down. You know what I mean? But that's what happens in jail. This bloke
Yeah.
didn't know me for a bar of soap.
Yeah.
Next thing I'm king hitting him. You know?
Yeah. You speared into him, and it's
Yeah.
your loyalties just say that you got to do it. So
Exactly.
that's
That's how that world worked. That world worked like that. If you get a message from your cousin saying he's no good, you've got to put something into him. Well, you just put something into him. You don't question it.
yeah. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
I said, then I found out later he wasn't a dog, and I went up and said to Graham, Don't fucking do that to me again." I said, "You're lucky I didn't go worse and do something stupid
Yeah.
and fucking get pinched over stabbing some bloke that's not a bad bloke."
Yeah.
I
Hasn't
mean,
really done anything wrong.
yeah, and he hadn't really done anything wrong, just he got over Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a true story, that one. That's why today when someone says something, I say, "Mate, have you got proof? Show me." But I do
Yeah.
that to my own head too, Glenn. You know
Yeah.
our head lies to us and tells us lies.
Yeah. I do.
I challenge that and I say to my head, because I've been clean a long time now, I say, "Show me the proof." And
Yeah.
then as soon as I challenge my thinking, it runs away like the big coward it is. Because my disease is the coward that was in the system. My disease is the chopper reed. I call it the pedophile.
Yep.
No, I do. My disease when it talks to me, I go, "Fuck off, pedophile." You're not getting in my head. You fucked me since I was a little kid. I'm not allowing that anymore.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't allow it. I really don't allow it, mate. I don't allow it to talk to me and tell me that. I don't know about you, but did your disease ever tell you to knock yourself, that you weren't worthy?
Definitely that I wasn't worthy,
Mm.
but I never went through like suicidal stuff. There were many days there where I could give a fuck if I lived or died.
Yep.
But yeah, but I never went through sort of committing suicide stuff.
I'd never had my whole life, and I got clean in 1981, and I relapsed, and I got pinched and went straight back to jail. When I had a couple of beers in 1982, stole a
Yep.
police car, got arrested, all that shit, and I'm back in the cells at Canberra, and it was the first time in my life after all the shit I'd been through, I'd never thought about knocking myself. And I remember sitting in the cells thinking, I can't do this. I can't get clean, and I can't keep using. I'm going to knock myself. It was
Yeah.
the first time in my life, mate. It was fucking scary. And,
Yeah.
this was a real deal. This wasn't a thought. This was, okay, on Saturday, because that's when the lazy fat screw was on. I'm going to get the spread sheets. I found the tie-up point. I'm going to knock myself. This is a true story, this.
Yeah.
On the Saturday morning, I got a visit from the girl that I'd met in rehab, that I had an affair with, why I left the rehab to hook up with her anyway. And she told me she was pregnant.
Oh.
And I didn't knock myself because she told me she was pregnant. And I got 40-year-old twin daughters. They're 40 December this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That saved my life, mate. That was a God job. That was
Yeah. That's
God is.
absolutely a good job, mate. There's someone stepped in there.
Yeah, something stepped in. Mate, I was around my mother. I'm a funny bugger. Once I commit myself to something, I go through. It's been my detriment.
Yeah.
Once I I focus. I feel like I'm like a fucking XZ missile. Once I focus and I lock onto something, nothing could change it. I'm that sort of person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I swear to God, I was going to knock myself that afternoon. She turned up in the morning, told me that she was pregnant. We didn't know it was twins. We thought it was just one kid. And I said, well, fucking. She said, "Oh, will I get a termination?" I said, "No. If you get a termination, when I get out of here, I'll fucking terminate you." That's the honest story. That's exactly what I said to her.
Yeah.
If you get a termination, when I get out of here, I'll terminate you. And then I went back to the cells and fell on my knees and started crying and went, "Fucking help me, something, fucking help me." I went back and I did my lag and I came back out. Used while I went back to jail straight away. Used while I was in jail. I always used while I was in jail.
Yep.
I never not used in jail. You know what I mean? Then when I went back in 2002, I got sentenced to 18 years. I served 8 of that. I never used.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not because I'm smart. It's not because I'm strong. It's not because I'm tough. It's because I had a program.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a program, and I had the tools.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
And you decided to use them.
And you know what? My whole life changed because up until I got that 18 years, I was clean, drug free, but I was spiritually bankrupt.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you were talking about before,
Yeah.
at that 6 year mark,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
that.
That's
15
exactly what it
years.
was. Yeah. Just spiritually bankrupt. I had nothing.
Yeah,
And
I had
you know,
everything, and I had zero.
yeah.
I was laying in a waterfront mansion where I lived. My boat was out on the back water. My 2 jet skis were sitting there. The 3 cars in the garage. Multi-million-dollar portfolio of homes. Watching,
Yep.
I'll still never forget it. Watching the Boxing Day cricket. No, these 2 fucking cats that used to be my cats. I've still got 2 cats today. I always have cats. And I was laying
Yep.
there watching the cricket, and I thought, I don't give a fuck if I wake up tomorrow. I wasn't suicidal, but I'd lost my
Yeah.
spirit was gone. And
Yep.
I
Yep.
got pinched. Not a couple of months later, I got pinched and went back to prison.
Yep.
And I had a spiritual awakening.
Are you
First,
still on? Are you still on parole for
no,
that
it's
one?
finished. It's finished.
Finished. Yeah.
It finished technically on the 30th of March this year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's been 18 years ago that I got pinched.
Yeah. Jesus, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So,
Yeah.
so I've been home just over 10 years. Been home
Yep.
10 years and 6 months, 10.5 years I've been home.
Yep.
And going back to jail at 16 years clean was horrific, mate.
Yeah. I bet.
The world had changed. Everyone's a junkie.
Yeah.
Now, I went in to jail and became a heroin addict, or became an addict in jail, and I was looked down upon. Then I went back as a recovering addict. I was looked down upon. I'm like Benjamin Button. I should have been born the other way around. But yeah, but you know what, mate? How I stayed clean is I carried the message to the addict who still suffered.
Yeah. Yep.
All I did was 12-step people. I got permission to get basic text sent into there and step working guides, and I introduced yoga, and I fucking started pumping all this recovery stuff. And then because I'm an escapee, I couldn't get out of maximum securities. I had to stay in maximum security prisons.
Yep.
And sent me to this maximum security prison that was privately run by a company called Serco.
Yeah. I know him. Yep.
The general manager was a pretty good guy. His name's Guy Buff. He's in London. We still communicate. And he said to me, "Fuck, I hear good shit about you." He said, "I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't know if you're working an angle, but I believe in rehabilitation. Can you help us set up a program here?" He said, "I'll give you anything you want. So I'll give you any facilities you want." I said, "Okay, we've got to be in isolation from every other person in the jails. No one can come in and out of our unit. And our unit can't go anywhere without being escorted by an officer." I said, "Our visitors can't be in the visiting section because we'll get on." I said, "Our visiting section is going to be away from the rest of the visiting section. We cannot have communications or it mixed up with any other prisoners." I said, "We've got to have our own food." I said, "Otherwise, when the food barrier comes down, there'll be gear on the food." He said, "Done." And we
Fuck,
started
that's
a
a.
rehab. We started a rehab in prison, mate. We had 28-man rehab, and there
Yep.
was 28 guys in that unit that were all clean.
Yeah.
That's where Brocky got clean.
Yeah. That's where you met Brocky, isn't it?
I'd met Brocky before that when he was a kid, but
Oh.
that's when I
Yep.
took
Yep.
over as his mentor.
Yep.
I met him when he was 17 in the boys' yard.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And then again, about 2 years later, he was out of the boys' yard, and he was in the prison yard kicking a ball at this poor stiff down the end of the yard, kicking the ball, and all the other gangsters were up the back, G and Brocky on, because they wanted Brocky to punch him up.
Yep.
I walked out the yard. I said, "What are you fucking doing?" You know, Brocky looked at me, "What?" I said, "Mate, that's a shit go." I said, he's a nothing." I said, "And these fucking idiots, they're just G'ing you up to get pinched." And that's when we became, he says, you know, he said, I didn't know what it was, but I knew there was something different about,
Yeah.
about me than there was everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yep.
just said, "Mate," I said, "that's a shit go. That's not being a tough guy." And that's when I started hitting him up. "You want to be a tough guy? Get clean.
Yeah.
Be a good fucking son. Be a good father. Be a good husband. Be a good friend." Said, "You want to
Yep.
be a gangster?" I said, "This is what gangster is, motherfucker. What we're doing here is wasting our lives."
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
mate, and then he's you know, he's, as you know, he's fucking changed into a beautiful human being.
Oh, he's a beautiful man, mate. He's I love him to bits. I really do, Ronnie. I know you do too. You know,
He's my
but
boy. You know,
yeah.
he's like
Yep.
the son that I never had. You know, like he is.
Yep.
He's one of my kids.
Yep.
I'm hard on him. I'm really hard on him.
Yep.
No harder than I'm on anyone else that I love.
Yep.
But you know, as you know, I also take him through the program. I mentor him on life, but I respect him, and he also helps me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, it's a two-way street. All relationships are.
Yeah. It has to be. Has
Yeah,
to be.
you know.
Yeah. I was so
Right.
happy to see him the other day.
Yeah,
It was because it had been a couple of years, you know.
yeah. He's just got such a
Right.
beautiful heart. His smile is fucking. It engulfs you. His whole smile just embraces you and cuddles you and drags you in. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he
Yeah.
gives
Yeah.
you the big bear hug, you know, I'm a bit worried about his sexuality sometimes when he cuddles me. You know.
Uh,
Yeah. Mate, but that, you know his story, mate.
yeah.
You know,
Yep.
he shouldn't be like that, but he's just such, against all the diversity, he's become this incredible, strong, brave human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
His
He's
destiny,
helping people. You know.
and helping people all the time, mate. His destiny was to die in prisons.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
read you read his fucking life story, mate. That's where he should be.
Yeah.
Now, that's where the smart money was on him never ever getting out of the systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and now he's helping so many people from so many walks of life. That's the gift of recovery. That's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a gun, isn't he,
Yeah,
Rocky?
yeah.
Yeah.
My motivation for doing this podcast is to reach people who are still suffering, or to encourage people that are in recovery that are doing it a bit hard. That we do recover. There is a way out.
There's definitely a way out. Like, me and you are sitting here today, and we shouldn't be, like you
Yeah,
said with Rocky.
I believe we've been given a gift, and we have to keep giving it.
Sometimes I wonder that, like, why did I get out? And there's many others that were better than me that never made it, you know?
Geez, I've asked that question a lot of times, Glenn.
And there's no answer, is there?
There is an answer. Your higher power had something special in line for you.
Yeah, yeah, well, it has to be
Chosen,
something like that, you know?
chosen. You are, mate. No, and I don't believe in a God, and like the Christian God and all that sort of stuff. I don't know what I believe in, but I believe in something beautiful, something loving, something caring, and something forgiving that guides me in my recovery and shows me how to live. I believe in that.
Yeah,
So that's my belief. I believe in a loving higher power. I really do. I believe something special, and I believe I'm blessed, mate. Like, I'm a street kid from Fitzroy that couldn't read or write.
mm.
I've run my own companies. I've run successful companies. I fucking have a beautiful family. My wife and children aren't scared of me.
Like, I got a brother, and he's still using today, Ronnie, and, you know, exactly the same childhood, he's been in and out of prisons, and, like my sister carried the message to me, and I got out, and I thought that I could just carry it to him, and he'd get out,
Yep.
and he hasn't. He's still using and fucked. He's completely
Yeah.
fucked these days. He just gets worse and worse. He used to be a decent little crook, but
Yeah.
I don't even think he's got anywhere to live at the moment.
That's where I ended up, Glenn.
Yeah,
Ended up on the street. Couldn't even get an earn together.
yeah,
That's where I ended up, mate. And I
yeah,
was a criminal before I used, and a pretty successful one.
yeah,
Back in the day, I did the safes and the fucking armed robberies and all that sort of stuff, and jewelry robberies. I was always a jewelry thief. And then I opened a jewelry company. I got clean. I've had a jewelry company for 40 years. You got to do what you know. You know what I mean? You got to do what you know. But yeah, in the end, mate, I couldn't even get an urn together.
Yeah.
I was homeless, destitute, couldn't get an urn together. My rock bottom in 1986, when I relapsed in 1985, was I met a girl that I'd met in the rooms. She was a street worker.
Yep.
She was cracking it, and the first crack she'd give me, she'd give me a shot. The second one, she'd have a shot. The third one, she'd get a room for us.
Yeah.
It was fucking sad, mate. That was my rock bottom. To me, that was the lowest point of my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was because I had a lot of pride and all that stuff. When I'd lost all that and I'd lost the ability to even earn anymore, it was like, yeah, you need to get back to the rooms. You need to get back to recovery. You need to get back to a bit of honesty and humility and about who you really are and what you are and what you want out of life. And I don't know,
Yeah.
mate. I believe we deserve to find recovery. I believe that we all deserve to be given a second chance. I'm not a religious person, but I've read the Bible, and they say, the prodigal son returns, and he says, "How many times should I forgive him?" He says, 1,000 times 1,000 or something.
Yep.
And the only reason I read the Bible, it used to be the only book in the whole fucking jail,
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
book in the cell in the old days. I went on a quest all around the world looking for spirituality. I went to Israel and walked the path that Jesus walked, and went through all where he was crucified. I've done all that stuff. I went to India, to the ashrams. I've been to the Buddhist temples, and I got married by a Buddhist priest and learnt the Buddhist teachings. And out of all the religious searching I've done, I read the Quran. I found out the God I was looking for actually lives inside of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all those years I looked for this spiritual thing, and it was inside me the whole time. That's
Yeah.
why I couldn't find it. I had to go in.
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah.
in by working the steps.
Yeah.
And that's how I found my spiritual awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
By having honesty. Those demands. Did I send you those demands?
Yeah, you did. Yep.
I use those demands to work the steps. I use the demands in everything I do.
Yeah.
They're my blueprint to success. And I think if the whole world lived on those 8 demands, we'd have a really nice place to live.
Yeah. Okay.
I really do. That's how deeply I believe in those demands.
Yeah. I was thinking about them the other day because what's do what you say.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, fuck, I told Ronnie I'd ring him at 9:30 in the morning and I never did.
Yeah.
And then it took me mind straight back to the demands,
Well, that's how I live. If
Yeah.
I'm being unreliable, I go, oh, fuck, you've got to do what you say you do. If I ask you to talk about something, I've got to be prepared to talk about it too. That's being congruent.
Yeah.
When I tell you a story, I tell you the whole story, not just bits and pieces, so I'm thorough.
Yeah.
Consistent in the way I do things, I'm respectful in that your time is as valuable as my time. And I'm honest to tell you, mate, this is not acceptable. That's all that stuff is how I work the program.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. It gives you freedom.
Yeah.
And the only thing that the program promises is freedom from active addiction. But I got so much more.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got freedom from self.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah. I'm not such an important person anymore. You know what I mean? I got a mate in Los Angeles in California. He tattoos all the superstars, tattooed Charlie Sheen, tattooed all of them, Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne. He's tattooed everybody. And on top of the door, he's got people who are wrapped up themselves make small parcels. And I love that saying because I don't want to be a small parcel.
No.
And to be honest, to society as a whole, I'm really insignificant, but to my family, I'm important.
Yeah.
And I believe for me, my whole life today until the day I die, we're based on covering the message of recovery and leaving a legacy of hope instead of a fucking destruction. And I say to people today, my goal is to be a human being, not a human taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I use it, I just take. I take everything, mate. I take my life for granted. I take my family for granted. I take my friends for granted. I take my freedom for granted.
Yeah.
Sanity.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
don't want to take anymore. I just want to give. I just want to give, and I just want to give. So that I still believe this really deeply, that in giving we receive.
yeah,
So that's why I asked you to come on this podcast, because I knew that your message would be well taken and well received by people. And I
yeah,
like doing podcasts with people I don't know a lot about. I don't believe in scripted, having a format. These are the questions I ask, this, and this. That's bullshit.
yeah,
My company's called The Truth About Addiction.
yeah,
And the truth about addiction is whatever comes out. That's the truth.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
truth will set you free.
yeah. Absolutely, it will. We I don't know. My big thing at the moment is like just trying to break that cycle with my daughter. Like, I caught up with me mate the other day in Melbourne, actually, a few days after I seen yous, and we spent. He's from my area. We spent some time in jail together, and he's got his life back on track as well. He's just had a baby girl about 4 months ago, and we're just talking about just how we just need to break the cycle with our kids. Don't
100%.
want our kids to go through what we went through.
Well, I've got a daughter who's 15 years clean, so I know about that one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And it's such a gift. I did a podcast with her 2 days ago. It'll come out next week. It made me cry.
yeah. Okay,
We
yeah,
talked about gifts of recovery. She said, one of the greatest gifts I've got is my relationship with my father.
yeah, yeah,
And she says, if my father wasn't clean, I wouldn't have got clean.
yeah,
That stuff's really nice. She's 40 in December.
yeah,
And I love her dearly and I respect her. She's a beautiful, beautiful mum, beautiful
yeah,
woman, beautiful daughter, very
yeah,
caring person. And she works in drug and alcohol. She's a head nurse of a detox centre.
yeah. Okay, yeah,
She runs her own she runs her she's the boss of a detox centre, like that's very rewarding, and I see how much she gives and I see how much she gets rewarded, and she's getting remarried next year and she's bought her own house, and these are
yeah,
gifts of recovery, man.
yeah. Absolutely, mate.
She
That's
was
what it's like with
so
my sister. Like the same thing. Like she carried the message to me and sort of put me up in the early days, and I wouldn't be here without her.
It is a family disease. I explain to people, when we're using, the ripple effect affects everybody. When we clean, the ripple effect affects everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It's true.
yeah,
When we get clean, everybody gains from it. When we use, everybody suffers from it.
yeah, yeah,
And your sister getting clean is rippled onto you. My daughter and I, we got a joke that says, addiction runs in our family until it ran into me.
yeah. Okay,
You know?
yeah,
We,
yeah.
I say that, and she goes, "Nah," until it ran into me. To her, no, mate, piss off, will you? Piss off. I'm the boss of this family. Yeah, she's funny, but she's me festering. She's moved long hair. She even looks like me.
Is
Yeah.
she in Sydney?
She's up here in Queensland with me, mate. She moved up here to
Oh yeah,
be near her daddy.
yeah, yeah,
Got clean in Sydney.
yeah,
When I came out of jail and I came back to live on the Sunshine Coast, she moved up here with me.
yeah. Okay, nice.
She's always been daddy's girl, mate.
Yeah, that's the go.
Yeah, and I got another one who's 27. She's a functional drinker. They got
Yep.
another. The other one's the one that's in recovery. Her sister's a twin. She's a functional drinker. So
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
tell me how that works. I got twins, one in recovery, one who's not,
Yeah.
and they both run their own companies. They're both super successful women. Both
Yeah.
got beautiful children.
Yeah.
So I don't know. People say, "Oh, it's hereditary." Well, why didn't the twin get it?
Yeah.
I've got twins. One's in recovery, one's not,
Yeah.
and they both took drugs. They both snorted coke. They both took pills.
And one was off and running, and one wasn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Freaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Same house, same parents, same schools, same clothes, same upbringing.
Yeah.
One's an addict, one's not an addict.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy, mate. And yeah, ours is not the question why. Ours is just to get it done. But mate, look, been really lovely talking to you, Glenn.
Yeah, you too, Ronnie.
Appreciate your time, mate.
No worries, mate. No worries
Yeah.
at all.
If you're down this way, you come and look me up. If I'm up your way, I'll look you up, mate.
Yeah, definitely. You're always welcome over here, mate. They've got
Yeah,
a
mate.
spare room, and
No, same here, mate. And what we'll do is, mate, we'll catch up sooner than later,
yep,
and maybe work out you guys can come up here or something when Broccoli's here one time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Come up
Me and
and hang
Sarah
out.
will pop up and
Go and hang out around our end of the town.
yeah, no, that'd be good.
All right, brother. As I said, anybody out there that might be struggling with addiction problems, feel free to contact the Truth About Addiction, Ron. Our podcast is made to try to carry a message of hope and that there is a way out. Thanks, Glenn.
No.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.